And old Eurynome replied, "If only our prayers were answered, none of them would live to see the dawn ride in upon her throne." Penelope said, "Yes, dear, they are all our enemies, and mean to do us harm. Antinous is the worst. He is like death. Some poor old stranger wandered to his house and asked the men for food, compelled by need. The others helped him out and filled his bag. Antinous preferred to heap abuses on his head." She had this conversation in her room with her attendants, while Odysseus was eating dinner. Then she called the swineherd. "Eumaeus, have the stranger come to me so I may welcome him, and ask if he has heard or witnessed anything about long-lost Odysseus. The stranger seems as if he must have traveled far." At that the swineherd went and stood beside Odysseus. His words had wings. "Now, Sir Penelope, Telemachus' father, has summoned you. She feels impelled to ask about her husband, painful though it is." Strong-willed Odysseus answered, "Eumaeus, I will tell the truth, the whole truth to Penelope, and soon." "I know of Odysseus. We shared in suffering, but I am very nervous about the rowdy suitors." "When I was walking across the hall just now, quite harmlessly, that man hurled something at me and hurt me. Telemachus did nothing to protect me, nor did anyone else. So now tell her to stay right there until night falls, however eager she may be. At dusk she can come nearer, sit beside the fire, and ask of her husband's journey home." The swineherd headed back and crossed the threshold as sharp Penelope said, "Are you not bringing the traveler? Is something wrong? Is he too scared or shy? A homeless man can ill afford such shame." Eumaeus answered, "His words were common sense. He wants to stay out of the suitors' way, for they are aggressive. He says you should stay here until sunset. It is much better for you too, my queen, to speak to him alone." Penelope replied, "The stranger is no fool, at least. There never were such bullies as these men, and they intend us harm." The swineherd went back to the crowd of suitors and approached Telemachus, and tucked his head down close so no one else would hear. "My friend," he said, "I have to go and watch the pigs, and all your property and mine. You should take care of everything, but most of all yourself. Do not get hurt. So many mean you harm. I pray that Zeus obliterates them all before they injure us." Telemachus answered, "May it be so." Athena, with her grey eyes glinting, gave thoughtful Penelope a new idea, to let the suitors see her, so desire would open up inside them like a sail, and so her husband and son would respect her. She went down from her sunny room upstairs. The two slaves went with her. She reached the suitors and stood beside the central pillar, holding her gauzy veil before her face. Her 2 trustworthy slaves stood either side of her. The suitors weakened at the knees. Desire bewitched them, and they longed to lie with her. She spoke to her dear son Telemachus. Telemachus, you are not thinking straight. When you were still a child, you had good sense. Now you are bigger, you have reached adulthood. You are so tall and so handsome now. People can see you are a rich man's son. Even a foreigner would know at once. And yet your judgment is askew. What happened that you allowed a guest to be insulted? If strangers in our house are so abused, what then? You will be shamed. Your reputation will be destroyed. Telemachus replied with calculated purpose. Mother, I do not blame you for being angry. In my heart I do know right and wrong. I used to be a child. I am not now. But I cannot even afford to think of my own heart's thoughts. Those evil suitors keep distracting me, and I have no one on my side. Father Zeus, Apollo, Athena, may the suitors in our house be beaten and bow down their heads, some in the house and some outside. May each man's body grow weak. And then Eurymachus spoke up and said, O great Queen Penelope, wise, prudent daughter of great Icarius, if all the Greeks could see you now, there would be far more suitors feasting here in your house, from dawn to dusk, because no other woman equals you in beauty, stature, and balanced mind. Penelope replied with caution. No, the deathless gods destroyed my looks that day the Greeks embarked for Troy, and my own husband Odysseus went with them. Terrible, I am cursed. Zeus took away my happiness. Another bitter thought oppresses me. It is not right or proper to court a decent woman in this way, a rich man's wife competing for her hand. They ought to bring fat sheep and cows to feed my family and give fine gifts, not eat what is not theirs and offer nothing back. Odysseus, who had endured so much, was happy she was secretly procuring presents and charming them with pretty words while her mind moved elsewhere. Antinous said, Wise Penelope, take all the presents that any of the Greeks would like to bring. Refusing gifts is not polite, but we will not go back to our own farms or elsewhere until you choose the best of us to marry. They all agreed and sent their men for gifts. All of the suitors gave her different gifts. The queen went upstairs to her room. Her slaves carried the splendid gifts. Then the suitors turned back to watch the dancing and enjoy the captivating music. They stayed there in pleasure till black evening came. A houseboy mixed wine for all of them and shared the drinks around. They poured libations to the gods and sipped the cheering wine. When they had had enough, each of them went back home to his own bed. Odysseus was left there in the hall, and with Athena. He was hatching plans for how to kill the suitors. Telemachus approached and said, "Father, my eyes have noticed something very strange. The palace walls, the handsome fir-wood rafters and crossbeams, and the pillars high above are visible, as if a fire were lit. Some god from heaven must be in the house." But cautiously Odysseus replied, "Hush, no more questions. Discipline your thoughts. This is the way of gods from Mount Olympus. You must go to bed. I will stay here to aggravate the slave girls and your mother and make her cry and let her question me." Telemachus went through the hall, lit up by blazing torches, to his room. Sleep came, and there he lay till dawn. Odysseus stayed in the hall, still plotting with Athena as to how to destroy her suitors. Then the queen, her wits about her, came down from her room. Slaves pulled her usual chair beside the fire, and Penelope sat down. And then she turned to tell Eurynome, "Bring out a chair and put a cushion on it so the stranger can sit and talk with me. I want to ask him some questions." So the woman brought a chair of polished wood and set a cushion on it. Odysseus knew how to bide his time. He sat and circumspected Penelope, began the conversation. "Stranger, first I want to ask what people you have come from. Who are your parents? Where is your hometown?" Cunning Odysseus said, "My good woman, no mortal on earth would speak against you. Your glory reaches up to the wide sky. This is your house. You have the right to question me, but do not ask about my family or native land. The memory will fill my heart with pain. I am a man of sorrow. I should not sit in someone else's house lamenting. It is rude to keep on grieving. The slaves, or even you, might criticize and say my tearfulness is caused by wine." Penelope said cautiously, "Well, stranger, the deathless gods destroyed my strength and beauty the day the Greeks went marching off to Troy, and my Odysseus went off with them. If he came back and cared for me again, I would regain my beauty and my status." But now I suffer dreadfully. Some god has ruined me. The lord of all the islands, Same, Delicium, and Zacynthus, and those who live in Ithaca, are courting me, though I do not want them to, and spoiling my house. I cannot deal with suppliants, strangers, and homeless men who want a job. I miss Odysseus, and my heart is melting. My parents are pressing me to marry, and my son knows that these men are wasting all his wealth, and he is sick of it. He has become quite capable of caring for a house that Zeus has glorified. And now you must reveal your ancestry. You were not born from rocks or trees as in a fairy tale. The master of deception answered, "Wife of great Odysseus, Laertes' son." Why will you not stop asking me of my family? I will speak if I must, but you are making all my troubles worse. It is the way of things when someone is away from home as long as I have been, roaming through many cities, many dangers. Still, I will tell you what you ask. My homeland is Crete, a fertile island out at sea. Minos, the intimate of Zeus, was king for 9 years, and my father was his son. My name is Aethon, and I am his younger brother. In Crete, I saw Odysseus and gave him guest gifts. A storm had driven him off course at Malea and carried him to Crete, although he yearned for Troy. He narrowly escaped the winds and found a refuge. He came up to town and asked to see my brother, who he said was his good friend, a man he much admired, but Idomeneus had sailed to Troy 10 days before. I asked him and his crew inside and gave them all a lavish welcome. Those noble Greeks stayed for 12 days, but on the 13th day the wind died down and they sailed away. His lies were like the truth, and as she listened, she began to weep. She wept for her own husband, who was right next to her. Odysseus pitied his grieving wife inside his heart, but kept his eyes quite still, without a flicker, like horn or iron, and he hid his tears. He answered shrewdly, "Your Majesty, Odysseus's wife, stop ruining your pretty skin with tears, and grieving for your husband broken-hearted. But stop your crying. Listen, I will tell you a certainty. I will be frank with you. I heard Odysseus is coming home." "I tell you he is safe and near at hand. He will not long be absent from his house." "And those that love him, I swear this by Zeus, the highest, greatest god, and by the hearth where I am sheltering, this will come true as I have said. This very lunar month, between the waning and the waxing moon, Odysseus will come home." Penelope said warily, "Well, stranger, I do hope that you are right." Then she told her old slave, Euryclea, who nursed her husband when he was a child, to come wash the beggar's tired, wrinkled feet. Euryclea moved at once to obey. Odysseus had a premonition in his heart that when she touched him she would feel his scar, and all would be revealed. She kneeled beside him and washed her master. Suddenly she felt a scar. A white-tusked boar had wounded him on Mount Parnassus long ago, when he was a child hunting with his grandfather. The old slave woman holding his leg and rubbing with flat palms came to that place and recognized the scar. She let his leg fall down into the basin. It clattered, tilted over, and the water spilled out across the floor. Both joy and grief took hold of her. Her eyes were filled with tears. Her voice was choked. She touched his beard and said, "You are Odysseus, my darling child, my master. I did not know it was you until I touched you all around your leg." She glanced towards Penelope to tell her it was her husband, but Penelope did not look back. She could not meet her eyes, because Athena turned her mind aside. Odysseus grabbed her throat with his right hand, and with the left he pulled her close and whispered, "Nanny, why are you trying to destroy me? You fed me at your own breast. Now, after my 20 years of pain, I have arrived back at my home. You have found out. A god has put the knowledge in your mind. Now be silent. No one must know." With calculation, Euryclea answered, "My child, what you have said. You know my mind is firm, unshakable. I will remain as strong as stone or iron." The old nurse went to fetch more washing water. All the rest was spilt. She washed and oiled him, and then he pulled his chair beside the fire again to warm himself, and covered up his scar with rags. And carefully Penelope spoke to him. "Stranger, I have one small question I want to ask you. How do you interpret this dream of mine? I dreamed that 20 geese came from the river to my house, and they were eating grain, and I was glad to see them. Then a huge eagle with a pointed beak swooped down from the mountains, broke their necks, and killed them. I wept and wailed inside the dream. The women gathered round me, and I cried because the eagle killed my geese. Then he came back, and sitting on the jutting roof beam spoke in human language to restrain my grief. Penelope, great queen, cheer up. This is no dream. It will come true. It is a vision. These geese are suitors. I was once an eagle, but now I am your husband. I have come back home to put a cruel end to them." Then I woke up, looked around, and saw the geese still eating grain beside the trough as they had done before. Odysseus, well known for his intellect, said, "My dear woman, there is no way to wrest another meaning out of the dream. Odysseus himself said how he will fulfill it." "It means ruin for all the suitors. No one can protect them from death." But shrewd Penelope said, "Stranger, dreams are confusing, and not all come true. The day of doom is coming that will take me from the house of my Odysseus. I will arrange a contest with his axes. He would set them all in a row. From a distance he shot an arrow through all 12 of them. I will assign this contest to the suitors. Whoever strings his bow most readily and shoots through all 12 axes will win me, and I will follow him. I will be parted from here, this lovely house, my marriage home so full of wealth and life, which I suppose I will remember even in my dreams. Scheming Odysseus said, "Honored wife of great Odysseus, do not postpone this contest. They will fumble with the bow and will not finish stringing it or shooting the arrow through before Odysseus the mastermind arrives." She chose her words with care. "If you would sit and entertain me, guest, I would never wish to go to sleep. But humans cannot stay awake forever. Immortal gods have set a proper time for everything that mortals do on earth." "I will go up and lie down on my bed. I will lie there, and you will lie in this house. Spread blankets on the floor, or have the slaves make up your bed." With that she went upstairs, accompanied by slave girls. In her room she cried for her dear husband. Still sharp-sighted, Athena poured sweet sleep onto her eyes. When early dawn shone forth with rosy fingers, Odysseus awoke momentarily confused. Then he remembered the last 20 years, and how Athena had brought him home to take revenge upon the suitors. Soon the suitors began to converge on the palace of Odysseus, raucously laughing and preparing for another long day of feasting. This would be the suitors' final banquet. With glinting eyes, Athena put a thought into the mind of wise Penelope, the daughter of Icarius, to place the bow and iron axes in the hall of great Odysseus, and set the contest which would begin the slaughter. The queen came near the suitors, and she stopped beside a pillar with a filmy veil across her face. Two slave girls stood with her. She said, "Now listen, lords, you keep on coming to this house every day to eat and drink, wasting the wealth of someone who has been away too long. Your motives are no secret. You want to marry me. I am the prize. So I will set a contest. This great bow belonged to godlike King Odysseus. If anyone can grasp it in his hands and string it easily, and shoot through all 12 axes, I will marry him and leave this beautiful, rich house so full of life, my lovely bridal home. I think I will remember it forever, even in my dreams." She told Eumaeus he should set up the bow and pale grey iron axes up before the suitors, and in tears the swineherd took them, and did as she asked. The cowherd wept also when he saw his master's bow. Antinous began to scold and taunt them. He said, "You idiots, you tactless peasants, so thoughtless, so undisciplined. You fools, your selfish crying is upsetting her. poor lady, she is sad enough already at losing her beloved husband. Sit and eat in silence, or go do your wailing outside, and leave us suitors here to try the deadly contest of the bow. I think it will be difficult. Not one of us can match Odysseus. I saw him once in childhood, and I still remember him. Now, friends, get up from left to right, beginning with the man next to the wine slave. They agreed. The first was Leodes, their holy man, who always sat in the forest corner by the wine bowl. He was the only one who disapproved of all their bullying. He grasped the bow and stood astride the threshold, and he tried to string it, but he failed. His hands were soft, untrained by labor, and he grew worn out trying to pull it back. Then Eurymachus tried, but neither could he bend the bow to string it. Odysseus, the Lord of Lies, had carefully considered how to fool them. He said, "Now hear me, suitors of the queen. Let me reveal the promptings of my heart. Give me the polished bow so I can try my strength and find out if my hands still have the suppleness and vigor of my youth, or if it had been lost in all my years of homelessness and poverty." They bristled, nervous in case he strung the polished bow. Antinous said, "Foreigner, you fool! Are you not grateful that we let you stay here and eat with noblemen like us, and share our feast and hear us talk? No other beggars can hear our conversation. This good wine has made you drunk." Astute Penelope said, "No, Antinous, it is not right to disrespect a guest Telemachus as welcome to this house. And do you think that if a stranger's hands were strong enough to string the bow, he would take me away to marry him and live with him? Of course not. He does not even dream for such a thing. No need to spoil the feast by worrying of such things. There is no need of that." With a quick intake of breath, Telemachus replied, "No, mother, no one has better right than I to give the bow to anyone or refuse it. Go up and work with loom and distaff. Tell your girls the same. The bow is work for men, especially me. I am the one with authority in this house." She was amazed and went back to her room, taking to heart her son's assertive words. Inside her bedroom with her girls she wept for her dear husband, her Odysseus, until clear-eyed Athena let her sleep. Meanwhile Odysseus, with ease, strung the great bow. He held it in his right hand and plucked the string, which sang like swallow song, a sweet, clear note. The suitors, horrified, grew pale, and Zeus made ominous thunder rumble. Odysseus, who had so long been waiting, was glad to hear the signal from the son of double-dealing Kronos. He took up an arrow, which was lying on the table. The others were all packed up in the quiver, soon to be used. He laid it on the bridge, then pulled the notch end and the string together, still sitting in his chair. With careful aim he shot. The weighted tip of bronze flew through each axe head, and then out the other side. He told his son, Telemachus, "Your guess does you a credit. I hit all the targets, and with no effort strung the bow. I am still strong, despite their jibes about my weakness. Though it is daytime, it is time to feast. and later we can celebrate with music, the joyful part of dinner." With his eyebrows he signaled, and his son strapped on his sword, picked up his spear, and stood beside his chair next to his father. Odysseus ripped off his rags. Now nude, he leapt upon the threshold with his bow and quiver full of arrows, which he tipped out in a rush before his feet, and spoke, "Playtime is over. I will shoot again, towards another mark no man has hit. Apollo, may I manage it?"